I had just begun my junior year at Southern Lehigh High School in Pennsylvania, and like a lot of students stepping into a new chapter of their lives, I felt completely out of place. The building itself wasn't unfamiliar, but everything felt different that year. Friend groups had solidified, inside jokes were already formed, and the cafeteria during lunch felt more like a social battlefield than a place to eat. Every day I would grab my tray and slowly walk through rows of almost at the same time, as if synchronized, and one of them nodded toward the empty seat across from them. That small gesture felt like a lifeline. I sat down, introduced myself, and for the first time that year, lunch didn't feel unbearable. Over the next week, we started talking more. They were quiet, almost unusually calm, but they seemed friendly enough. They shared the same dry sense of humor and often finished each other's sentences. I remember thinking it must be crowded tables, pretending to scroll through my phone so it wouldn't be obvious that I didn't know where to sit. The noise echoed off the walls, laughter, shouting, chairs scraping across the floor, and yet somehow I felt invisible in the middle of it all. One afternoon, after another awkward lap around the room, I noticed two identical twins sitting near the back corner. I had seen them before but never spoken to them. Their names were Antonio and Bruno. They looked up at me. Cool to have that kind of built-in connection with someone. After a few days, they started inviting me to hang out after school. At first it was simple stuff, walking around town, grabbing snacks, just passing time. But then one Friday afternoon, they suggested something different. They told me about a secluded lake hidden deep in the woods near a cemetery not far from town. They described it like it was some secret hideout, a peaceful place where no one would bother us. They said meet them there at 9 p.m. because it was better at night. The mention of a cemetery should have made me hesitate more than it did, but I was just relieved to finally feel included. That night, I drove out toward the location they had sent me. The road grew darker and emptier the farther I went. When I reached the cemetery entrance, I slowed the car. Rows of headstones stretched across the dimly lit grounds, pale shapes under the moonlight. I checked my phone and saw a GPS pin drop deeper behind the cemetery, somewhere in the woods. Assuming they were already waiting at the lake, I grabbed my phone's flashlight and followed the narrow trail into the trees. Almost immediately, the sounds of civilization faded. No traffic, no distant houses, just wind brushing through branches and the crunch of leaves under my feet. As I walked farther in, I realized something felt wrong. The air felt heavier, the silence too complete. When I reached the coordinates on my phone, there was no lake, no clearing, no sign of Antonio or Bruno, just thick trees and darkness. I called out their names, trying to sound casual, but my voice echoed back strangely through the woods. No answer. Then I heard it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, circling somewhere behind me. At first I assumed it was them trying to scare me. I even forced a nervous laugh and told them the joke wasn't funny. The footsteps didn't stop. They continued at the same measured pace, not rushing, not stumbling, controlled. My heart began pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I turned slowly, trying to focus through the darkness, but the shadows between the trees were too thick to make out anything clearly. The realization hit me all at once that I might not be alone and that whoever was out there wasn't playing around. I started walking quickly back toward the direction I came from, trying not to look panicked. The footsteps sped up. Before I could react, someone lunged from the side and slammed into me, arms wrapped tightly around my neck from behind, squeezing hard enough to cut off my air. I clawed at the hands gripping me, trying desperately to pull them away. My lungs burned. I could feel fingernails digging into my skin. Somewhere nearby, another voice shouted sharply, "Grab him!" The voice sounded horrifyingly familiar. In that moment, fear turned into pure survival instinct. I threw my weight backward, twisting violently, and somehow managed to break free from the grip, just enough to slip out of their hold. I didn't look back. I ran. Branches scraped my arms and face as I sprinted blindly through the trees. I could hear movement behind me for a few seconds, then nothing. I didn't stop until I reached my car. My hands were shaking so badly, I struggled to unlock it. When I finally slammed the door shut, I locked it immediately and sat there, gasping for breath. My neck throbbed. In the rearview mirror, I could see red marks forming where I had been grabbed. I drove home in silence, trying to process what had just happened. The next morning, my parents saw the scratches on my neck and demanded to know the truth. I told them everything. We reported the incident to the school and local authorities. When the administration questioned Antonio and Bruno, their stories didn't add up. Combined with the visible marks on my neck, it was enough for serious consequences. Within days, they were expelled. I never received a clear confession, but I knew what I had heard in those woods. I tried convincing myself it was over. About a week later, just when the tension began to fade, I woke up in the middle of the night with an uneasy feeling. My room felt colder than usual. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. My bedroom window was wide open. I always locked it. The curtains were swaying slightly in the night breeze. Then I saw a darker shape near my door, partially hidden behind it. Someone was standing there, frozen in fear. I stared for a split second before instinct took over, and I screamed for my dad. The figure moved instantly, rushing toward the window. My father burst into the room just in time to see someone climbing out. He chased the figure into the yard, but whoever it was disappeared into the darkness beyond our property line. Nothing was stolen. No one was hurt, but someone had been inside my room while I was sleeping. I couldn't prove it was the twins, but the timing felt far too coincidental. After that night, nothing else happened, yet the sense of security I once had was gone permanently. In another disturbing account from 2007, a female student described her experience with a substitute gym teacher who gave her an immediate sense of discomfort. At first, it was subtle, standing too close while correcting posture, letting his hands linger longer than necessary during demonstrations. She tried convincing herself she was imagining it, not wanting to overreact, but the tension built slowly. One afternoon after class, she went to her locker and found her combination suddenly wouldn't work. She knew it by memory, yet the lock refused to open. As frustration grew, she realized the locker room had emptied. She was alone. The substitute walked in, offering help. His tone was calm, almost rehearsed. As he stood behind her, guiding her hands, the lights suddenly shut off. The room fell into darkness. Her heart pounded as emergency lights flickered faintly. She stepped back and glanced down the row of lockers and saw him standing several feet away, watching her silently from behind the metal doors. He hadn't been beside her at all. Panic surged through her body. She grabbed her bag and ran from the building without looking back. In yet another account, a student staying late during a power outage in the music department basement found themselves alone in complete darkness. The basement had no windows. When the power cut out, it became pitch black instantly. As other students left, this one stayed behind briefly to pack up. That's when they heard something heavy being dragged slowly across the concrete floor in a storage area. The sound echoed unnaturally through the empty hall. They called out, assuming it was a teacher. No response. The dragging continued, closer now, accompanied by low breathing sounds. Terrified, they slipped into a small storage room and shut the door. Silence followed. Then suddenly, a hand gripped their shoulder in the darkness. They screamed and bolted, racing up the stairs toward light. To this day, they don't know who was down there. Finally, a group of friends who snuck into their high school late one night. For fun experienced something they never expected. Wandering the empty halls felt thrilling at first. One of them messaged the group, saying he was hiding in a bathroom stall. Two friends went to find him. Inside the dim restroom, a stall door was closed, assuming it was their friend trying to scare them. One climbed slightly onto the sink to peek over. Instead of seeing their friend, they locked eyes with a complete stranger standing silently inside the stall, staring up at them without expression. The realization was instant and horrifying. Their friend wasn't even inside the building. They ran without hesitation, leaving the school behind. Each of these experiences shares a chilling truth. The places we believe are safe, schools, homes, familiar hallways, can transform without warning. What makes these stories so unsettling isn't just the fear itself, but how ordinary the settings are. The cafeteria, the locker room, the basement, a bedroom, these are places tied to routine and comfort. Yet in a single moment, they became scenes of confusion, betrayal, and danger. And sometimes, the most terrifying part isn't knowing exactly who was there in the dark, it's knowing that they were close enough to reach out and touch you.